Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the University of Northern Colorado. Thank you for joining us for our first UNC Talk session of 2016. My name is Erwin Raimundo, and I am the Graduate Assistant for the Office of Enrollment Management and Student Access here at UNC. I'm also enrolled here as a graduate student in the Higher Education Student Affairs and Leadership program. Although I've only been on campus for a short time, I've really loved my interaction with the campus here at UNC and Greeley at large. Now, before I introduce our guests, I would like to remind you that you can participate by asking questions in a variety of ways. By using the hashtag UNCTalks, you can ask questions on Facebook, Twitter, our UNC admission page, which is unco.edu/admission, and through the Gmail that we send to your personal email account, you can ask questions there. Now, we're going to try to answer all the questions today, but if we can't, we will answer them right after this UNC Talk session on all those social media platforms. Now, joining us today are three very important people in the Office of Financial Aid. First, we have Natasha Ambrose, the Associate Director of the Office of Financial Aid. Second is Fabian Garcia, who is the Coordinator of Outreach for Financial Aid. And then also, my most favorite, Matea Smith, who's currently an undergraduate here, but working as a peer counselor in the Office of Financial Aid. Now, let's get to know them more. Natasha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Erwin. I'm Natasha Ambrose. I'm the Associate Director of Financial Aid. I've been here at UNC for 2 years, but in the financial aid business for over 20.
Hi, everyone. I'm Fabian Garcia. As Erwin said, I'm the Coordinator for Outreach here at the Office of Financial Aid at UNC. And I've been working in financial aid for the past 5 years at different capacities. I started in this field as a work study student, and now I am a full-time staff.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matea Smith. I'm an undergraduate student here. I'm a senior dietetics major, and I've been working in the Office of Financial Aid for 2.5 years as a work study peer counselor.
Thank you for that quick info about yourselves. Let's start off with a few questions that we already have. Let's start with Fabian. Fabian, do you mind answering, why should I fill out the FAFSA, and do I really need it?
Thank you, Erwin. That's a really good question. We always have students ask that in the office whether or not they need to fill out the FAFSA application. I would always recommend to fill out the FAFSA application regardless. The FAFSA application is a tool that allows us as an office to determine what type of financial aid we're going to award to you as a student. This single application puts you in consideration for possible grants, possible work study funds, and loans as well. I always get the question again whether or not is it necessary to fill out the FAFSA application. You never know what you're going to get. The FAFSA application asks a lot of information. It's not income-based specifically, so you never know what you're going to be awarded. So I would always recommend for everyone to fill out the FAFSA application.
Great answer. Thank you for sharing that, Fabian. Our next question, let's have Matea answer that. Matea, what is the FSA ID and what happened to the old PIN?
Thanks, Erwin. So FSA IDs are the new way that people actually log into their FAFSAs, and it's also something that is used to log into studentloans.gov, which is a loan database system for getting loans. And basically what happened with the PINs is they changed from the username, or excuse me, they changed from the PIN system to the FSA ID, which is a username and password.
Great, so the FSA ID is basically a new form of security to get to your FAFSA. I love it, thank you. Natasha, do you mind answering this next question for me? What all do I need to complete the FAFSA? Is there specific identification or forms or documentation that I need to fill out this FAFSA?
Oh, sorry, it didn't work at first. I would love to answer that question for you. There are quite a few documents that you need in order to start filling out the FAFSA. The first one is know your social security number. That's a big one because even if you put in one digit incorrectly, it will be a hindrance for you throughout the rest of the process. Know your driver's license. Bring any tax information. If you haven't filled out your taxes yet, you can use estimates, so that is okay. If you have filled out your taxes, we encourage you to do the data retrieval tool, which is where you take the IRS information and import it directly into your FAFSA. Other information that you'll need: bank account information, other untaxed income, child support received, child support paid, things like that.
Thank you, Natasha. And you also mentioned uploading tax information. When is that available?
That is available February 7th, or was available February 7th, because today is February 11th.
Great. So that resource is live now for all students and incoming students looking to do their FAFSA. Our next question, let's line this one up for Fabian. Who can see my information on my FAFSA? Is this a safe process? You know, as students and parents upload a lot of vital information, is the FAFSA safe?
Yeah, Erwin, the FAFSA application is very safe. It's run by the Department of Education, and the access that people have is pretty limited. The only people that can actually access the FAFSA information are the students themselves and the institutions that they send the information to. So depending on what institutions you list as the schools that you want that information to go to, they're the only ones that are going to be accessing that information.
Thank you for answering that, Fabian. For our next question, let's line this up for my most favorite associate director at UNC. When can I fill out the FAFSA, and what are the deadlines?
Yes, thank you. I love being your favorite. I appreciate that, Erwin. You know you are my favorite as well. The FAFSA application, you can fill that out at any time. If you were an undergraduate coming to UNC, that FAFSA deadline is March 1st, so you'll want to get on that very, very quickly. You do need to do it each year after January 1st. There are going to be some changes coming up for the next year. We'll discuss that in an upcoming UNC Talks, but just make sure you do it by March 1st for this year.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you for saying I'm your favorite. This is on archive, so I will pull this up quite often. Our next question will go out to Matea. How long will it take to complete the FAFSA? And do I really need my parents to complete this process?
Thanks, Lauren. That's a great question. So if you are a student who is under the age of 24, well, more specifically an undergraduate student, then you do have to have your parent information on there. If you are a graduate student, if you are married, if you have a child of your own that you can claim, or in some cases, if you are a military student, you do not have to have your parent information. But to get more information on that, I would contact our office just to make sure you are filling it out correctly. In terms of how long it takes to fill out the FAFSA, this can vary based on how much of your taxes you have done. If you already have them completed and you can use the tool to pull that information in from the IRS, it can take maybe an hour or so. But if you have to manually input the information, it can take longer, hour to 2 hours.
Thank you, Matea. I appreciate that. Our next question is a follow-up to that one. Fabian, do you mind answering when will my FAFSA be processed, as in the time frame? So Matea just answered how long it takes to fill it out, but how long does it take the federal government and possibly college and institutions to process that information to create a financial aid award packet?
Thank you, Erwin. That's a pretty common question that we get. Luckily, the process has become quicker as the years have gone on. As early as this past year, when students complete the FAFSA application, they can almost in most cases see a transaction being processed within the next couple of days of students submitting the FAFSA application. And this is from the Department of Education side. Now, once that's been processed, depending on when the universities themselves pull in the information, can dictate when we actually have an award letter ready for our students. For UNC specifically, as long as you meet the March 1st deadline, we try to have at least an award letter for students by mid-March ready to go.
Thank you, Fabian. Appreciate that. Natasha, how does UNC receive my FAFSA information? Is there a specific school code or identifier that tells the federal government that I'm selecting UNC as my #1 destination?
Absolutely. So that school code specifically for UNC is going to be 001349. You can choose other schools, but you want to put UNC as your first one.
Thank you, Natasha. And again, that code was 001349.
That's correct.
Thank you. Matea, what will a completed FAFSA tell me? Can I find this information out without filling out a FAFSA?
Thanks, Erin. You do have to fill the FAFSA out to get the information off of it. And things that you can get off of the FAFSA include an EFC is one of them. This stands for Estimated Family Contribution. This is kind of an index number to say how much your family can contribute to your education based on income and number of people in the family and even number of people in college. It can sometimes tell you how much you can receive in federal grants and federal loans. And again, you do have to fill out the FAFSA in order to get that information.
Okay, I'm just gonna lob this question out to whoever wants to answer it, but we've thrown around this term FAFSA. What does FAFSA stand for?
I can take this one. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid.
Thank you, Matea, and that's why you're my favorite. Fabian, here's an interesting question, something I hear a lot. I made a mistake on the FAFSA. Can I correct it? Is there a process? Do I have to file extra paperwork, or can I do it online?
Yeah, thank you, Erwin. We hear that question quite a bit as well, right? And the answer is yes, depending on the question. There are certain fields that once you submit the FAFSA application, you're no longer able to go back and actually make corrections, but those are limited. But by and large, if you had made a mistake on the FAFSA application, you can go back to the FAFSA application itself and make corrections that way.
Thank you. Natasha, okay, I've accepted my admissions packet to UNC. I filled out the FAFSA. Now what? I'm eagerly awaiting to come to UNC. What do I have to do now?
Well, the first thing that you need to do is wait for that award letter in the mail. And those are going to be sent out starting March 1st, so very exciting. You'll get that in the mail, and that's going to explain to you exactly how much we can offer you as an institution based upon the information you filled out on the FAFSA. After that, you want to see if there's any other information that the office needs. You can go onto URSA, check for any red flags. There are times when we're going to need additional documentation in order to make sure that you get the right amount of funding that you're eligible for.
Thank you. I'm sure a lot of future bearers found that answer quite beneficial. Matea, as a current undergrad, I'm going to throw this question at you. Here's the big question that I hear a lot. How do I get my money?
Yes, the big question. So basically the way that UNC does it is once you've been offered your award letter, you will have to accept your loans, and you will actually have to accept some terms for it as well. So you will accept the terms and conditions of your loans and your grants and other financial aid that you may be given. And then as long as everything in your account is up to date and ready to go, we will automatically put your loans, grants, scholarships, anything toward your bill with the university.
Thank you, Matea. Any one of you can answer this one. You said grants, scholarships, and loans. Can you differentiate what they are from each other? Because we hear that a little too often, might get them confused. And then also accepting it. What is an MPN?
Well, there's a lot of different parts of that question, right? So I'll try to tackle the first question that you mentioned there about the different types of aid, essentially. So scholarships, grants, and loans, these are all different categories of financial aid that are used to pay your bill here at UNC. For the FAFSA, or through the FAFSA itself, when we create an award letter, this information is used to determine what you might be eligible to receive. From there, you may be eligible to receive grants, which in this case is need-based aid that doesn't have to be paid back to anyone. It's free money, essentially. And it can come from several different sources. It can come from the federal government, it can come from the state of Colorado, or it can come from UNC itself. And this is why we emphasize that students who are coming to UNC to complete the FAFSA application before March 1st, but because we do have limited amounts of institutional aid and state aid to award. So you definitely want to get the most financial aid possible. Now, loans in particular are a form of financial aid the government gives you that you can use towards your education that does have to be paid back. Now, with scholarships, these are not necessarily awarded to you based on the FAFSA application, but some scholarships are dependent on you having completed a FAFSA application prior. These scholarships are typically merit-based, meaning you have to have done something in order to receive them. A common category that determines merit-based is usually your academics. So we take a look at your GPA, your ACT scores. But there's other forms of scholarships. We have athletic scholarships. Here at UNC, we have a universal scholarship application that you can fill out on your student portal, your URSA account. And once you fill that out, you are going to be considered for over 500 scholarships that we have here at UNC. So as you can see, Erwin, there's several types of financial aid available through the FAFSA application and here at UNC. And you want to make sure that you pay attention to the deadline so you don't miss any of these opportunities.
And I can go ahead and speak to the MPN question. That stands for Master Promissory Note. That is what you fill out when you accept a student loan. It is your promise to pay back that loan, because it's not free money. You do need to pay that back.
Thank you, Natasha. I just want to touch upon what Fabian discussed earlier. So say I file after March 1, does that mean I'm ineligible for any financial aid from my most favorite institution, UNC?
If you complete the FAFSA application after March 1st, it doesn't disqualify you from financial aid. But as I mentioned before, there are some types of financial aid that we have limited amounts. And we definitely want to make sure that you are, if you are eligible to receive this type of aid, that you definitely get this aid awarded to you. But you can still receive financial aid even after the March 1st deadline. But again, we want to encourage everyone who's watching this to complete the FAFSA application before March 1st, because that's going to maximize your chances of receiving the most financial aid possible.
Thank you, Fabian. So while I still have you on the hook, let me ask you this question real quick. And it's something we've actually discussed on a personal level. I still don't have enough money to pay for everything, as in tuition, books, housing, whatever else you want to throw in there. What do I do? Are there other alternative loans that I can possibly file for?
Yeah, and we have discussed this at length before, right? Luckily, there's several things students can do. The most important thing right now for students who are interested in coming to UNC as early as this fall semester is still look for private scholarships. There's a lot of private scholarships out there within your local community. There's a lot of businesses or faith-based organizations or other entities that offer scholarships that help for your education if the award or if the amount of financial aid that you receive is not sufficient enough to cover all of your balance. In addition to that, students have the ability to seek out other funding sources such as private loans through private lending institutions. So these are several options that students can do to minimize the cost of attending college. In addition to that, a large portion of our student population also work in different capacities. A lot of our students, like Mateo mentioned before, are students here on campus. So a lot of students do use this form of income to supplement their additional expenses here at UNC.
So my take home from that is, even though, say, the federal government doesn't give me enough money, there are other ways for me to afford school, correct?
That is correct. And again, I do want to reiterate the universal scholarship application that students can fill out as well to be considered for institutional scholarships here at UNC.
Thank you, Fabian. I really appreciate it. Natasha, this question is going to be for you. I still don't feel comfortable filing the FAFSA. Can I come into the Office of Financial Aid for help?
Absolutely. We're here to help with any questions that you have. I think what you'll find, however, is that as you go through the application and look at the questions, a lot of them are going to be self-explanatory, such as demographic information. You can go ahead and figure that out. Give us a call or come in if you get stuck on something. The whole process itself can take about 30 minutes, but it really is a relatively simple process. But again, yeah, we're always here to help.
So basically, a 30-minute process will pay for a year's worth of school, correct?
That is the perfect way to put it.
Awesome, Natasha. And then also just to follow up on that, are there walk-in hours or do I have to make an appointment? Can I call in? How can I get help from the Office of Financial Aid here at UNC?
That would be all of the above. So we do have walk-in hours Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, which means that you can come and do a one-on-one with a counselor. We have peer counselors at the front who can also answer any of those FAFSA questions or any simple questions that you have. We do have a phone number as well that you can call in. That is 970-351-2502. We also take emails at ofa@unco.edu. So there are various ways that you can get a hold of us.
Thank you for providing that awesome information, Natasha. I really appreciate it. Fabian, I just want to go back to your original question a few questions ago. You mentioned scholarships. One of these questions sent in to us says, I already have scholarships. Who do I tell and where do I send them?
First of all, congratulations, right? That means you're putting in the work and you really deserve all the awards that come your way. But in order to make sure that those funds are used here at UNC, you definitely want to follow up with the donor of that particular scholarship if they have a preferred method of administrating those funds to the university. In most cases, most scholarship donors will give the student the check and they can bring them directly to our office. And that way we can process those funds and put them on the student's accounts. Sometimes those particular donors may ask for us to bill them first. So you definitely want to touch base with the individual donor who awarded the scholarship if they have a preferred method of getting those funds to us.
Thanks, Bob. Matea, I haven't heard from you in a while, so I'm going to send you a question. This one is Colorado-based. What is the COF and who is eligible for it?
This is a good one. So the COF, or also known as the College Opportunity Fund, is a stipend system where the government pays a portion of your tuition. Currently, it is being paid at $75 per credit hour. The people who are eligible for this are anyone who is a resident of Colorado attending a Colorado institution. And you do have to authorize that it pay out. We often suggest that you authorize it for a lifetime so that you don't have to go in each semester and authorize it to pay out. But yeah, anyone who's a Colorado resident attending a Colorado school who authorize it can receive this.
Thank you, Matea. Natasha, I have a very interesting and unique question for you. I'm 17, can't register for Selective Service. Does that mean I cannot apply for financial aid?
No, it does not actually. It means that there is a spot that says, would you like us to register you? If you haven't, it will automatically register you once you turn 18, but you still qualify for financial aid.
That was a quick, simple answer to what I thought would be a complicated question. But that just proves why you're my favorite associate director here at UNC. I'm going to go back to Matea. Here's the question. I'm not the best student and don't really have the best grades. Should I file a FAFSA? This is my own personal question.
Yes, absolutely. So kind of just to reiterate what Fabian and Natasha both said about this, always file your FAFSA. If you're coming in from high school or even from another institution and you don't have the best grades, FAFSA isn't necessarily dependent upon high school. Well, it isn't dependent upon high school grades, so yes, definitely fill it out. Something to be aware of, however, is once you do start college and start your classes, you will have to meet a certain requirement for academic progress in order to receive it in following semesters, following years. So at first, no, it is not dependent upon grades, and it's always a helpful tool to get things paid for. So yes, absolutely use it, but then just be aware that it can be taken away if you start to not do as well in classes in college.
Thank you, Matea. Fabian, I'm going to go back to you because this kind of goes back to some of those personal discussions we've always had as friends. I'm not of the traditional age. Should I fill out a FAFSA? Does my age affect my status with the FAFSA?
As Matea said, we encourage everyone to fill out the FAFSA application. The FAFSA doesn't take into consideration age or factors like that. So when in doubt, always fill out the FAFSA application. You never know, again, what type of financial aid you're going to be eligible to receive unless you complete the FAFSA application. If you do have any further questions about some specific limitations or what you think are questions that you won't be able to answer on the application, definitely get in touch with our office and we can address those at that time.
Thank you, Fabian. Natasha, I'm going to ask you to field this question. I've been offered X amount of dollars for school at another institution, or I'm sorry, I've been offered X amount of dollars for school, but I only want to take so much out. How do I accept a partial amount of my financial aid award?
So this usually is with your student loans, because of course you don't really want to reduce anything that would be free. So with your student loans, you can absolutely take out partial amounts, and we encourage that so that you incur the least amount of debt possible. You would do this on your IRSA account. After you accept the terms and conditions that Matea was speaking about previously, you will be able to see the award offer tab. There is where you would actually reduce or decline or accept your loans.
Thank you for answering that. I really appreciate that. Matea, I'm going to go back to you for this next question. This actually applied to me quite a bit during my undergrad career. I'm planning on moving after I filed FAFSA. Will this change anything when I do? And if so, what should I do?
Okay, so if you move after you file the FAFSA, are you more referring to like moving schools, transferring schools?
I'm talking about physical location. So I'll still go to UNC, but I'm moving from, say, I don't know, 103rd Avenue to 83rd Avenue.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, moving from one location to another doesn't really affect your FAFSA. You may want to add your new address onto the information, the student information, but it does not change the amount of aid that you are offered.
Okay, now what if I move or transfer schools? So say I'm an Ames student, and then halfway through the academic year, I decide to go to UNC. And anyone can answer that question.
Yeah, that's a good question. And we were fortunate to have a lot of students who transfer into UNC. So what we recommend is to update that information to include UNC on your new FAFSA application. But you're still absolutely eligible to receive financial aid if you're transferring from a different institution. Again, just a reminder, you want to update and include UNC's information as a school that you want that information to go to. The school code is 001349. And once we have that information, we'll be able to create an award packet if you are transferring from a different institution to UNC.
Thank you, Fabian. And once again, since I already have you on the hook, I'm going to ask you this next question. I'm not sure if I will attend UNC. Should I still file the FAFSA or even put you down or use the school code?
Absolutely. The beauty of the FAFSA application is that it allows for multiple institutions to be listed at the same time with a single application that you fill out. So when in doubt, always explore your options. You want to make sure that you are aware of everything that you might be eligible to get. So for UNC, as long as you do the FAFSA application before March 1st, we'll have an award letter for you here pretty soon, and that way you can make a decision whether or not to come to UNC.
Thank you, Fabian. I'm actually going to ask you another question. What financial aid information does a student fill out if they're not living with their parents and a family member has a power of attorney for a year? This was sent in by one of our viewers just now.
That's a really good question. The good thing about the FAFSA application now is there is a portion on there that determines your dependency status, whether or not you're an independent student or dependent student. And the beauty of the FAFSA application is it goes question by question with different scenarios. And those scenarios determine whether or not you're going to be considered an independent student or dependent for financial aid purposes. Typically, the example that you listed wouldn't be one that would automatically qualify students for being independent students or having to exclude parental information on the FAFSA application. If you have any doubts about this process, what I would recommend is get in touch with our office and we can kind of discuss the situation a little bit more in length, and that way we can answer that question or help you answer that question in the best possible way. Thank
you, Fabian. This next question is another one that just came in from our audience. Natasha, I'm going to ask you to answer this one, please. Will moving money from one bank account or my bank account to my parents' bank account increase the amount of financial aid I receive?
Well, technically, yes. But here's the thing, is that we're not tax accountants, so you want to make sure that you're talking to a tax accountant about anything that you're doing when you're moving funds, especially assets. There is something called an asset protection allowance, and that's both for the student and the parent. The parent has more of an asset protection allowance than the student does, so you really need to look at the amount of money that you'd be moving into your parent's asset. So the answer really is, it depends.
Thank you, Natasha. That is a difficult question. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, our financial aid counselors are not educated or suited to answer questions like that since they are not legal or financial accountants, correct?
Correct. We're not CPAs. And although we do know information about, general tax information, when it comes to giving any kind of tax information, we really are not able to do that.
Thank you, Natasha. This next question, let's have Matea answer this one. How does the order of colleges I list on the FAFSA affect how much financial aid I receive? So say I list CU Denver as 1 and then UNC as 2, even though that would probably never happen.
Yeah, so even though that would never happen because you always list UNC as first, the order in which you list them on your FAFSA does not change the amount of aid that you get at each institution. Each institution actually awards you based on their regulation, their guidelines. They offer you aid independent of each institution. So even if you say UNC 1, CSU 2, University of Wyoming 3, that does not in any way prioritize one institution over another.
So basically, regardless of where you put UNC on the list, even though it's typically number 1, the award package will stay the same, correct?
It will stay the same generally, but like I said, each institution does offer aid in different ways, so it may change from institution to institution. It just is not based off upon how you list them on the FAFSA.
Thank you. Natasha, I'm going to have you touch on this question. It's kind of, we already discussed it a little bit earlier, but it just came in. How do I get my FSA ID and what do I need it for? We already kind of explained it. Maybe we had a few viewers coming in a little bit late, so can we catch them up to speed on that?
Absolutely. So the beauty of this is it's such a big change, and it did happen in April of last year for so for people who actually filed by that March 1st priority deadline, they did not know about this FSA ID ahead of time. So they put it on a myriad of different websites. The one that I would suggest is to go to fsaid.ed.gov. That takes you directly to the application. What you will need is you're going to need your demographic information. It is going to also ask you some challenge questions. So it's just like filling out, if you have a credit card or anything like that, or setting up an account of any other type. It asks you what's your mother's maiden name, things like that. It will also ask you to make up your own challenge question. That challenge question can be anything, including what is your favorite color. So you don't have to make it really something that's complicated. Make sure that you write down your username and password. So ID is a bit of a misnomer. It's not an actual ID or a set of numbers. It's actually going to be a username and password that you set up for yourself, one that you will remember and one that you will use for the entire time that you are a student.
Thank you again for answering that, Natasha. I'm going to send this question to Fabian. You kind of discussed this a little bit earlier. How do I change my social security number on the application? I accidentally wrote the wrong one down by one number, and I've tried several times to change it on the computer, but it's not allowing me. How can we help this student out?
First of all, you want to make sure that the information on the FSA ID is correct. When you create an FSA ID, it's also going to ask for your social security number. So you want to make sure that that number is correct and your name is correct as they appear on your social security card. If you're not able to make the changes on the FAFSA application in regards to the actual social security number, you may have to start a brand new application altogether. So again, always go back and make sure that the original FSA ID is correct to what it shows on your actual social security card. If it's not letting you make the corrections on the actual FAFSA application, it could mean that you have to start a brand new FAFSA application.
Thank you, Fabian. And again, that's something that they can go into the Office of Financial Aid here at UNC to get help with or call, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to help with those type of questions. And as Natasha mentioned earlier, they can give us a call, they can walk in person, they can send emails with any issues that they're having with the FAFSA applications.
Okay, before we hit our last question, this one actually came in from quite an important viewer, Dr. Tobias Guzman. He wants to know, Natasha, what is your favorite color, actually?
Wow, that's amazing, actually. I love the color green. It is the color of my eyes. It is the color of grass. It is the color of spring, and it makes me happy. Thank you, Tobias.
This just in, Dr. Guzman said it should be blue and gold.
Oh, you got me there. I lose. I'm sorry. It's still blue.
It's okay. You're still my favorite. My personal favorite color is raisin or merlot, but nobody will ever find that out. So we have time for one last question. Matea, this question will be for you because, like I said, you're my favorite. When will we know when we get a grant from FAFSA?
Yeah, so if you have received a grant from FAFSA, you will find that out when you receive your award letter. Any grants you receive will be listed on there. And again, like Fabian, I think, had noted earlier, was that if you do get your FAFSA in by the March 1st deadline, we're trying to award people by mid-March. So you would find that out then, or just whenever you get your award letter. Something to know is occasionally, once you fill out your FAFSA and submit it and it's been processed, FAFSA may give you some information about grants you might qualify for. Just be aware that it is the institution's responsibility to award those, and you are not guaranteed them until you see them on your award letter.
Thank you, Matea. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap everything up for tonight. I want to personally thank everyone who tuned in and joined us tonight. I'd like to remind you that the Office of Financial Aid here at the University of Northern Colorado is open from Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. Their phone number is 970-351-2502. You should ask for Matea because she'll help you out a lot. If we did not have time to get to your question, we will answer them here shortly on all those social media platforms. Again, thank you for joining us, and go Bears.